why is not the Dircom in the board of the company? Why is not a Dircom with more representative power in the company? What do you think about this?
It's a very difficult question to answer, and I assure you that Spain is not alone in this. In a lot of countries, the most senior communications person is often not on the board, but that is changing. I just say that for some heads of communication, they don't actually want to be on the board because they feel that if they're on the board, they're not able to be as difficult and provoking and challenging as they might be if they are one level below the board. So sometimes that's by choice, but the numbers of people who are on boards of organisations and the number of CEOs with a communication background is gradually increasing. So why are there so few people on the board? Well, I think there are a number of reasons. I think one reason is quite a simple one, really, is that everybody thinks they can communicate. Because organisations are communication, because we are social animals and everybody communicates, there's an assumption very often in companies and in governments that because somebody can communicate, they know how to do professional communications, and therefore you don't have to have somebody who's an expert in professional communications on the board. But that is changing. I think there is a growing realisation that you need somebody who understands the psychology, the philosophy, the theory of communication, as well as being a master of channels and content. And so this is beginning to change now. I think another reason why communications hasn't got the serious profile that we'd want it to have is partly down to communication practitioners themselves, and it's about how we articulate adding value to the organisation. It's not just about I can do you a web page or I can handle Twitter to you for a CEO. It's about how communication really adds value, and it goes to the heart of what we were saying just now about organisations can't exist without communication, and it's about how your narrative is put together, it's about how you interact with stakeholders, it's about how they talk about you, and those things, as we know, are profoundly important. And I'll just give you a little thing to think of. If you think about the number of chief executives who've lost their job over this last few years, I would ask you, how many of them have lost their job because they haven't got the finances right? And how many have lost their job because they haven't got the communications right? Because they've not regarded the reputation of the organisation as important, or because they've threatened through their actions and behaviours the reputation of the organisation. Now, I haven't done that piece of work, but I think that would be a very interesting piece of work to do.